Hey, what's up, people? So, I actually want to apologize for not coming up with this idea sooner, but like the title says, um, if you're pretty much beginning your first project revolving a gun, um, these should be some of the things that you should consider getting first. Now, I have a random assortment of things that I keep in a random assortment bag, but let's go ahead and just go one at a time. I'll try to start from what I got first and then just go from there. Let me just empty this out real quick. That being said, I don't recall exactly where I started, at least from like one at a time, but I could kind of like make it up as I go. So I'll tell you the first thing that I did was at least one of my very first projects was on my Mossberg Shockwave, converting it from its bird head grip to a pistol brace. So some of the things that I used there was this was one of my very first tools that I picked up, and I haven't had much use of it since, but I did end up using this portion here for the castle nut for installing and tightening. So I can't say I really use much of everything else here, but I kid you not. Now I think about it, I ended up using the larger portion over here for a plumbing pipe that I needed to clean out. So versatile tool here. I forget the exact name for it. I apologize. I'm not too good with my tool names, but at least you see it, and I would recommend that you get one. So that was the first thing, or one of my first purchases. I remember making a couple of runbacks to the store on that. Let me just put this back in the bag so I keep track of everything else. Let's see here. What was also a first time purchase for me was one of these shavers, metal shavers. So it has different grip or different textures, maybe. That's probably the better word. So you see, I got a lot of use out of it here. And it wasn't one of my very first purchases, might have been like on the third or fourth run to the store. But I ended up using this a lot when it comes to uh, just any excess material that needs to be taken off. This has been a boon. I'm trying to think specifically which projects I've used this on specifically. Um, I might think about it a little bit later than sooner, but I would say still must buy for here. So still got to think about it, but again, I recommend it. Let's see what's another one. So one of the big ones here was Allen wrenches. So this one is probably my longest used one from Harbor Freight. Most of the tools that I'll say that I got here from Harbor Freight, some I may have ordered from like some off brand of Amazon, some type, but still, this one here, especially in the millimeter use, big time use here. Um, use it all the time when it comes to um, my red dot sights for adjustment, installing, and adjustment for the windage and elevation if needed. So that's a big one. Now its counterpart that a lot of people don't usually think about, or at least videos I watched before for projects, get another one that's measured in inches. There was one time I did uh, I was working on my Smith & Wesson and getting ready to do, I actually did a trigger job on it. And I needed the smallest wrench here, the smallest, thinnest wrench here for that project to take off one of the um, one of the screws that was at the very top that I needed to take off the end plate. So that was like, and I was just going through them one at a time, one at a time, one at a time until I got to this one here. And even the millimeter didn't fit, but the one in inches fit just fine. So get one in millimeters, get one that's in fractions of an inch as well, because they are different. And let's see here. Another thing that I use for my pistol optics, or at least not the optics itself, but for trying to think what's the proper reason. Dovetail plates. If you want to go that route, if you consider going that route, get a hammer or get a hammer. Prefer this one, the right one. This was a gift from a friend, so something flat that you can use, but a hammer will do the trick as well. So either one, but you should still get it either way. So maybe set those aside. This one's going to be kind of weird, but it kind of depends on if, let's say, you're dealing with something that you may have dropped in a channel, like let's say you put too small of a screw in a channel. Let's say, like, if you put like one of the smaller screws inside one of the optic screws that you're like trying it out, but it's the wrong size, something to that event, something that doesn't fit normally, get one of these here. And if you're not used to seeing it, this usually comes with, or used to come with iPhones, but a SIM card opener, or you could say it's a SIM card key. But either way, something very small like this that has a bit of a handle to it that you could prod up or get into a gap and prod. You want something this small. So that's just for your information there. But with that, you should get one of these mini tool kits as well. So this one's seen a lot of use, but as you could tell from, it's just really small punches are the big ones that I've used here. Really small punches. Use that a lot in trigger jobs. And then some of them have like a little more flatheads and mini punches. I want to say like over here on this row, there's some mini punches there that I've used as well for taking out pins. So something small to that effect you would like as well. And let me go ahead and put that little key as well. Most definitely, this is a must, especially for tightening bigger screws. A wrench, an adjustable wrench at that. You definitely want it to be adjustable, but even though it's usually, for the most part, left in its default setting, got a lot of use out of it. As always, a flathead, or no, excuse me, a Phillips screwdriver. That should be part of any person's toolkit. And I haven't used an adjustable wrench as much as I thought I would. Still, I use it quite a bit, but not nearly as much as the what was the one I had before? I always call it the claw, adjustable claw, but that's just me being silly. But between these two, the vice grip and the wrench, I use this a lot more. And the wrench is not as used as much, but still get it, especially for its adjustability for it to get really finite. And then the one I was going to say earlier, a flathead screwdriver, but get a large flathead screwdriver. Whereas the standard ones won't cut it, get a large one. This one I bought standalone by itself, and here's the size, 3/8 by 8 inch. Definitely a big one to get. Make sure to get that one. And then also get an assortment of different sized flatheads. and assortment of different size Phillips as well. You want it to be even as short as this. So you just definitely want at least variable lengths of screwdrivers. And let's call it that. I have an assortment here of different punches here, but one particular thing I'll say is that if you come across a kit that has a plastic flat edge to it, especially a curved edge, you see I have used this quite a bit. Definitely pick up something like this. The name eludes me, but you definitely want something like that. I'm trying to see if I have a shorter one here, but it's mostly just little miniature, like I've used these for punches. So just an assortment that a friend gave me. And this is kind of the same, but you actually want one with an edge on it. I'm trying to remember exactly what I've used this for, but I want to say even for prying certain parts, like for trigger jobs, like if you're like prying a certain, let's say not a lever, but let's say a spring, this will do it. Let's see what I have here. This is a redundant one, but I'll probably say that as well from this. Actually, let me open this box instead. You want socket wrenches, and this one's a 46-piece socket wrench, and this is probably the socket wrench I use the most over here. Fairly newer, but again, makeshift use for punches, as well as some screw heads as well, various screw heads. Now, when I say that about this is that I bought another set here because if you're the type of person, because there's a second set here, I haven't used this set nearly as much, but if you're the type of person that you believe in China steel or Chinesium, Amazonium, whatever funny pun you can come up with for cheap steel or cheap tools, you want more than one. I have 4. One is a bit rusted, and I can show you that right here. These heads are rusted out, right? Not that they can't be used, but you don't really want to. But if you're going to go that route, you're going to find that a lot of these are out of spec with some of the things that you'll be working on. And you're going to want multiple ones for either due to rust, due to damage from using it. Can't really say I have one that's like really too damaged, but I'll go back to the very first one that I had here. And so its handle piece, this had come apart before on me. So because, and ever since it did come apart, this has been just completely loose ever since. And it doesn't hold, like, I should say it doesn't hold much, like, or at all. So unless I'm putting like actual tension on it or friction on it, it's not going to hold. It's always going to slip out. It's beyond its lockup point anymore. So that's what I'm telling you, that if you're not buying quality parts, you're going to end up with an issue. So, and you're going to end up making redundant purchases. Now, in my case, those redundant purchases have been less than $5 each time. So if you are going to go that route, just know that you should get more than one. especially because these pieces may be out of spec as well. And it's probably something to be said for the cheap people, because if you're going to end up going through multiple cheap versions of a screw set, or multiple pieces of a socket wrench set, that you might end up with more than one, just for the simple fact that even a more expensive brand might be out of spec for the certain project you may be doing. And that may be the result of the manufacturer, of which you're either making a trigger job out of, or you're making a pistol optic project out of, that some things will just not be compatible. So either way, you would have to buy multiple versions to make sure that you get like the perfect fit, because you may not get the perfect cut. So that being said, just FYI. I think that's actually everything out of the bag so far. But one quick thing I'll say as well is that if you're working on any type of small screws or anything similar to that, or pins specifically, if you don't have like a tool set or an armorer's tool set or something more professional grade, if you're gonna knock the pins out from a firearm, at least use a duct tape roll. At the very least, it'll catch everything. You can put it in there, and I would actually say, beyond that, get multiple sizes. Get multiple duct tape rolls for if you have different pins of different sizes that you're working with, or different types that you're working with. Excuse the drop out there, but that's what I meant to say, is that get multiple rolls of different sizes depending on the screw size that you're working with, or something to that effect. Depends was the word I was looking for. So again, with these projects, you're going to have a lot of variety. So make sure the things that you're using are in variety as well. So that being said, any question, comments, leave it down below. But I believe that covers it. Sorry for making this video as long as it was, but it is what it is. All right, take it easy.